I'm originally from Queensland. I'll be 61 on the 12th of next month. We have 7 children. We're an Indigenous family, which was one of the reasons I wanted to get involved with the DAC, because Indigenous people in Australia are 3 times more likely to develop a form of dementia than non-Indigenous people. We moved here 9 years ago, come my birthday. I got diagnosed, I think Leanne said yesterday, about 5 years ago. So we were here for a couple of years and I was still making furniture and stuff until one day I couldn't. I'd bought a new saw. Anyway, I bought it home, circular saw. I brought it home, took it out of the box, and I had no idea how to put it together. The kids would say, oh, we told you something, or Leanne would say, but we talked about that. And for a long time, I just thought that the kids were trying to put, as teenagers will do, although by this time they were in their 20s and 30s. So we went to the doctor and it started from there. I've worked all over Australia. I've done everything from drive a road train to laying stormwater drains to I was an engraver by trade. I worked on a couple of councils, worked in mines. Jack of all trades, master of none, I think is the best way of putting it. I made a living from painting and drawing and making hue and pine furniture and stuff like that. I drew or painted every day for 20 years. I hadn't drawn a thing until I was 40, and I taught myself, I was a taxi driver for about a decade. I taught myself to draw on the steering wheel of a taxi. If I wasn't driving somebody somewhere, I drew. That's the best part of the story, is we went to Cadams and we got a diagnosis, but the only thing we were told at the end was, we'll see you in 18 months. I think it was mild cognitive impairment. That was the initial thing. And we didn't know what it was. So we sort of come home and if my kids have taught me anything, the internet is, if you want to know something, somewhere there'll be something. So we got on it and we typed in cognitive impairment, we told mild, we played around with the words and everything kept coming back. At that time it was Alzheimer's Australia, but they were in the transition of going from Alzheimer's to Dementia Australia. Anyway, everything kept coming back to that and I thought, well, we wanted to talk to somebody that had the same thing. We rang Dementia Australia. What I've been on DAC now? 2 years?
So you joined in September 2017.
Yeah, well then it must be 5 years. And it was then that we started to work out what it meant for us. I liked our advocacy thing. You get to meet some really interesting people, but one of the big problems is getting people to talk about dementia. It's a conversation that not only Australia, but this country needs to have, because I think, was it 300,000? I saw somewhere, people living with some form of dementia. It's a phenomenal amount of people, and the thing that needs to be talked about is your life doesn't get better with a diagnosis. You can't sugarcoat that in any way, shape or form. But an immediate diagnosis doesn't have to mean that all of a sudden you're a totally different person. You're not. I have good days and bad days. My biggest problem is words, the names of things, conversations. I can get lost in a conversation in a heartbeat. But then once we started doing that, I started to get more involved with Dementia Australia and just doing things. I spoke at their conference in Hobart, I think was one of the first years, and then it sort of just blossomed from there. And when I found out, because I've got children and grandchildren that are Indigenous, I wanted to get involved to make a difference, because I don't want them to suddenly grow up with this and then be where we were, not know anything.